talk with a bird that chooses to spend its winter in Canada. I'm pretty sure that it's going to tell you that it can get a little rough. We can put on a toque and tuck into our heated homes. So, sure, they have evolved for this climate. But it's nice to offer them a little bit of help. In that, though, I wanted to know, do bird feeders actually help them? Oh, it's particularly cold out there. As temperatures drop, these resident birds face a critical time. Their survival tactics are a mix of instinct and adaptation. It's been shaped by generations before them that face these same challenges. Food scarcity compared to the heydays of spring and summer, harsh weather conditions that make it difficult to keep warm, and leading to an increase in energy demands, and other things like frozen water sources. Now, I don't think we should underestimate our feathered neighbors. In most cases, from crows to chickadees, they're not just surviving, they're actually pretty clever about it. They'll find cozy hideouts in places that I'd never think of, and turn into little masterminds when it comes to finding food.
We're going through a particularly cold snap for us here right now.
That is the sound of really cold snow underfoot. It's been unseasonably cold here for the past few days. And I find that's when we see a real uptick in numbers of birds and the amount of seed that is consumed. Obviously, I like to set feeders up. My grandpa was a bird lover, and I have fond memories as a kid sitting next to him and watching the feeders at their house. And so for a long time, I loved watching birds zip around and seeing their behaviors. But I've sometimes wondered, are these feeders really just a friendly helping hand? Or are we messing with Mother Nature's way of doing things? On one hand, we feel that we're giving the birds a much needed meal. But on the other, are we making them too reliant on us and shaking up the delicate balance of their natural lives? Are we ultimately helping or hurting? So I looked up what some experts have to say and found that this is more than just a simple yes or no question. It's about finding that sweet spot between being helpful and letting nature do its thing. Experts generally share the point that feeding birds during the winter can be beneficial if done responsibly. They emphasize the importance of providing the right type of food that meets the bird's nutritional needs, as well as maintaining clean feeding stations to prevent illness and the spread of disease. Experts also do highlight that while bird feeders should and can support wildlife, they should not replace natural foraging behaviors. The goal is to supplement birds' diets without creating dependency or negatively impacting their natural habits. And I found some cool studies that shed light on some of these things. One of the studies shown, as many of us have seen, that for one, birds seem to just love sunflower seeds. Whether it's in the city or on the countryside, these seeds are shown to be a hit. Secondly, the more variety we put at our feeders, the more bird species we might get to see. And it's not just about the taste. It's the size of the food impacts the type of birds that hang around. Each species has its own preferred snack. And I found this interesting. There's a study that shows that during super cold winter days, like what we're having here right now, our urban feeders become like cozy retreats for the birds, especially for those that aren't big fans of the cold. Thanks to our cities being a bit warmer in the winter, that's the urban heat island effect for you, birds will often pop into town when it gets too chilly. They know that at these times, to head to the city is warmer and there's more food. These studies remind us that feeding our feathered friends can be a big help, especially when nature's pantry is a bit bare. And to keep it helpful rather than a hindrance, we should be providing appropriate food and keeping those feeders clean to avoid illness.
Oh, getting snowed on. So, it seems that cleanliness is pretty important. Dirty feeders can harbor mold, bacteria, and disease, which can be harmful to the very birds that we're trying to help. And so how do we do it right? First, it's recommended to clean your feeders at least once a month, or more often if they're heavily used. Use a solution of 1 part bleach to 9 parts water, or some say that you can use 1 part vinegar to 4 parts water. Either way, ensure that you're wearing gloves to protect your hands. Disassemble the feeder if possible and scrub all parts thoroughly with the vinegar or bleach solution. The feeding ports and perches are important because these are high contact areas. Then rinse the feeder real well to remove all traces of bleach and vinegar and let it dry completely before refilling. Making sure that it's dried, just make sure that the seed doesn't get wet and go moldy. By keeping our feeders clean, we're not just feeding the birds, we're kind of actively taking steps to ensure that they stay healthy and thrive.
Bird feeders can be a boon, offering critical nutrition to help those little guys out. On the other, there's the need to let them still do their thing, foraging and surviving in the wild. It's about finding that sweet spot, the middle ground, where our help with feeders complements their natural habits without throwing everything off balance or spreading illness. So when you look out in a crisp winter's night, our bird friends are still out there living their nighttime adventures. It's like a never-ending story filled with ups and downs, little victories, and a whole lot of winged resilience. And so as we pull up our blankets and gaze out to watch the entertainment at the feeder, let's think of or remember the ongoing tale of these birds. We want to help our fascinating buddies make it through winter, but in a way that's smart, safe, and respectful of their wild ways. I know Grandpa would be happy to see that my enjoyment is carried on, and I'm sure he's proud, and maybe I'll get to pass that on myself someday.